In 643 days' time, Eddie Jones is hoping to lead England into the Yokohama Stadium, Japan, to compete in the Rugby World Cup final. No Englishman has lifted the iconic trophy since Martin Johnson in 2003 but, with just one defeat in 23 games. England are close to finding a winning formula. The Mail on Sunday's rugby correspondent Nick Simon caught up with Johnson to see if they are the real deal. Are England on course to win the World Cup? If everyone stays fit, they'll be in a decent place. It's a big if, though. Because I think Eddie Jones would expect to have a little bit more depth and there's not a lot of rugby left between now and the World Cup. With injuries, there will be a few question marks. The front five's pretty good but it would be great for another tight head to nail down that position alongside Dan Cole. He's been an absolute rock for England for 8 years. You'd like to have 4 world-class tight head props but you very rarely do. Who's the next scrum half? There's only Ben Youngs and Danny Care in the squad and they've been in there for 8 years. There's not much experience on the flanks after James Haskell and Chris Robshaw. Without Nathan Hughes and Billy Vunipola. Someone's got to play number 8. Is it Zach Mercer? Is it Sam Simmons? You always expect England to have an experienced Grizzly forward pack but the backs are more experienced than the forwards. Let's hope England come through with 3, 4 or 5 players who are up to it during the Six Nations. It's a good challenge. Is Dylan Hartley's time up as skipper? Captaincy isn't an issue for England because there are plenty of leaders in the squad. For me, Chris Robshaw has been there and done it and he would be more than capable of stepping up. There are also guys like George Cruz, Maro Itoye, Joe Launchbury, Owen Farrell, George Ford, Mike Brown, Youngs and Care who all contribute as leaders. Dylan or Jamie George? You could start either of them. Eddie's back Dylan and it's hard to drop a guy when you're winning. How do they compare to the 2003 heroes? We had far more depth and experience in 2003. We pretty much had 2 genuine packs that you start play in the Six Nations. Jason Leonard sat on the bench in the World Cup final with 100-odd caps. Danny Groocock, Martin Corey, Lewis Moody, Joe Worsley, Simon Shaw, Julian White, Leonard, Dorian West, Graham Rowntree, Mark Regan, those guys weren't even in the forward pack. Throw in Andy Gamasol, Kyron Bracken, Austin Healey, Paul Grayson, Dan Luger, Ian Balshaw and you've got British Lions backs not making the team. That was an exceptional period. If you look at the England current squad, pretty much a quarter of the squad are new caps. They need some young guys to come in and knock off the older guys. Who are their biggest Six Nations rivals? Every year it seems to be getting closer and closer. Ireland are my favourites because they've got the healthiest squad and a good blend of experience. The provincial game in Ireland has really worked for them in the last 10+ years. The English club game and international game has obvious conflicts and that takes its toll on the players. Even going back to my day as a professional, you'd go on tour when your club would have liked you not to go on tour. As a player, you've got to have full commitment to both. It's tricky. Back to competition, Scotland could also have a bit of a say. What advice would you give to the players? You can't be red alert 24/7. You've got to be able to just lie down after training and switch off. It's such an intense time when you're in camp and you have to be able to handle that, the media, the amount of information, the enormity of games, the spotlight. When I played, you'd be in camp for 3 days and then go home. Now you're in there for around 8 weeks and it's intense. You're stuck in a hotel and it's intense. You've got to handle that workload mentally and physically. If you can't handle it mentally, you'll struggle to handle it physically. Martin Johnson is a Land Rover ambassador. Land Rover has a heritage in rugby at all levels, from grassroots to elite.